I hope that you're well, and also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 2 English lesson on subject verb agreement. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of grade, we're going to grade 2, and then scroll down up until we get to the chapter of subject verb agreement. And this is a continuation of our previous lesson on subject verb agreement. And in our previous lesson, we did one or more than one to use the correct subject or verb. And today we're going to continue. All right, so our chapter is subject verb agreement. Our subject is arts. Grade 2. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on today is pronoun verb agreement. All right. So today we're doing pronoun verb agreement under the chapter of subject verb agreement, right? And when it comes to a pronoun, right, a pronoun takes the place of a noun. So the pronoun takes the place of a noun. All right. And we're going to find out more about pronoun verb agreement during the course of today. But we're going to continue, right, on subject and verb agreement. And we say that the subject and the verb, they need to agree with each other, right? They need to agree whether we are talking about it being in singular form or in the plural form. So the subject and the verb within a sentence, they must agree with one another, right? So the subject as well as the verb, they must agree with one another. The subject pronouns, right? So we have pronouns. Remember we said pronouns, they take the place of the noun. So the subject pronoun, words like she, he, and it, right? They name only one person or they name only one thing. So which means that they are singular, right? So they are singular. And when we talk about it being singular, it means that we're referring to only one person or only one thing. All right. And then when subject is singular, right? Because remember we said a subject, especially the subject pronoun, which is words like we're referring to she, he, or it, right? We say that they name one person or one thing, right, which is singular. And when the subject is singular, referring to one person or one thing, then we use a singular verb, right? And singular verbs, they either end in s or they end in es. And if we look at an example of a singular subject that needs to agree with a singular verb that ends in s or es, then we say he refers to one person, right? So we say he. So now we need to look at the verb because the subject is he, and now the verb is watches. And we said the verb either end in s or es. Like over here, it ends in es. So he watches the neighbor's dog, the neighbor's baby. Another example is it, right? Referring to, for example, one thing. It needs, and there it ends with an S, our verb ends with an S. It needs a new lock. So, which means that if we, for example, we said once again that if we have a singular subject that refers to one person or one thing, right? Then we need to have, it needs to agree with our singular verb. And our singular verb, it ends in S or ES. And like we said, if we have an example where we say, he watches the neighbor's baby. So watches, something that he's doing. The watches is the verb. Not just watch, but watches, ES. Or it needs a new look, right? So needs, it ends with an S. All right, and then we our subject pronoun, right, which is we and they. It names more than one person, or it names more than one thing. And if our subject pronoun, right, names more than one person or names more than one thing, then they are plural. They refer to more than one person, more than one thing. It's plural, right? And the pronoun, which is you, that can also be plural. So you can either refer to it as being singular, or it can refer to it being plural, right? And they said the pronoun you can also be plural. So when the subject is plural, right, and we refer to more than one person, more than one thing, we either use the word we or they or even you, then our plural verb, it usually does not end with an S or ES. And if we look at an example, we say we. If we refer to we refers to more than one person. So we say we walks, we walk home. And as you can see, there's no S or es at the end of that verb. So we walk home. And also, if we look at the next one, it says they, it refers to more than one person, right? So they finish early. Not they finishes, just they finish early. No S, no ES. So which means that these are our pronouns, subject pronouns. And remember we said pronouns takes the place of a noun. Pronouns are words like she, he, it, we, they, you, right? We have singular pronouns or singular subject pronouns, and we have plural subject pronouns. And our singular subjects, right, pronoun is words like she, he, it, which refers to only one person or only one thing doing something. Our plural subject pronouns, right, it refers to more than one person or thing doing an action. And that refers to we, they, or even you. And we say that if we have a singular subject, right, and then our singular subject needs to agree with our singular verb, and then our verb ends with an S or ES, and that is when we refer to it being when we refer to one person, one or one thing. Then our verb ends with an S or ES. But if we refer to more than one thing, and then our verb, so let's say our subject is more than one person, more than one thing, then we refer to we, they, or the you, and then we do not, our verb do not end with an S or an ES. All right. And then we also have a singular subject pronoun, which is like I and you, right? So remember we said the you can be plural or you can be singular, right? If we refer to it as you, it can be singular or it can be plural. So if we, for example, so if the singular subject pronoun is I and you, then it means that you do not follow any rules. They name only one person or they name only one thing, but they should be used with a plural verb, meaning that you should not, for example, um, it's almost like it's irregular. And if we look at an example, it says, you sing better than I do. Not you sings. Or I close the windows. And that is a singular subject pronoun, which is I and you. All right. So now we're going to aplusstudents.ca and we're going to continue with our chapter on subject verb agreement as well as our lesson, which is pronoun verb agreement. All right. So now we're going to pronoun verb agreement because that is our lesson for today. Then it's just walk. Walk, and that refers to when we are talking about more than one person, right? Walk. So if we just say walk and then we say it refers to they walk, we walk, you walk, but it refers to, it's a plural pronoun and it refers to more than one person that does something. They walk. If we only had to make mention of one person, then we say he walks, she walks, right? But see, we have no S after the word walk. All right. So before we go on to our test, right, we said that we have our subject as well as our verb. Remember, our chapter is subject verb agreement, right? Subject verb agreement, which means that our subject and our verb, they need to agree, right? So within a sentence, do I have to explain again? It's not clear. What is not clear? My explanation or the screen? So we say that our subject as well as our verb within a sentence, they must agree, right? So our subject, it tells us either who or what is doing the action, right? And our verb is the action that someone or something is doing, right? So with our subject, right, we say that we're doing pronoun verb agreement, right? So which means that our pronouns, it takes the place of a noun. So instead of saying the person's name, right? So instead of saying the person's name, we can just say he or we can say she. And that refers to basically us making mention of one person, right? Or if you want to refer to more than one person, we use words like we we use words like they, or we use words like you, right? And that refers to more than one person. But now, remember, we said that our pronoun subject needs to basically agree with our pronoun verb. If you make mention, right? If we talk about, so we said our subject and our verb needs to agree. So when the subject pronoun, if we make mention of she, he, or it, right, then it means that we only name one person or one thing. And we call that being singular. If we refer to one person, we refer to one thing, and then we say that is singular. It's one person. And when our subject is singular, because we're only referring to she, or we're referring to he, or we're referring to it, then we need to use a singular verb, right? I'm basically trying to explain now again. So we use a singular verb, right? And if we use a singular verb, then our singular verbs are going to end in S or ES, right? So let's say, for example, be funk, right? So instead of saying be funk, we're going to say he, right? Because we are making mention of you right now, right? Be funk. So if I'm talking about you to them, then I'm going to say he. Let's say if I want to say that you are listening to Moscato, right? Or you're listening to Nadine. Oh, sorry, I said my surname. If you are listening to Nadine, for example, then I'm going to say now, he listens, right, to Nadine, right? So I don't just say he listened to Nadine, I'm saying he listens to Nadine because one person or one thing, right? Once we show the action that they do, and then we add an s to our verb. So one person listens, one person one person needs, right? If I, for example, want to say that um Basil is maybe drinking something, and then we can say instead of saying Basil's name, we say he drinks, because now we need to add our s to that verb. So he drinks um Coke, right? She referring to a girl. She plays netball. It's another way to call people. So instead of calling you by your name, right? So if you're a boy, instead of me calling you by your name, I'm going to say ye, right? I'm just gonna refer to as he, right? Instead of calling me by name, you're going to say she, but you're also gonna say what I'm doing. And when you say what I'm doing, your word, your verb is going to end with an S. So if you want to tell people that I'm talking, then you say Nadine talks. Nadine talks, because you need to add a S. Nadine laughs, and we add our S, right? We will say, instead of saying Nadine, you say she. Eat, we can say it, eats. If you're talking about the dog, it eats the food, right? But we add our s or we add es to our verb when one person or thing is doing something, right? All right. But now, if more than one person does something, we say that is plural because it refers to more than one person that's doing something, right? And instead of saying and be funk, right? We are going to say they, or we're going to say we, refer to the two of you as you, right? Then our verb is not going to end with an S. We are only going to say they listen. No S, only they listen to Nadine, right? They, we, which refer to yourself as well as somebody else, we dance to the music, right? No is, no is. And that is basically how we can, for example, use our plural subject that refers to more than one person or thing that is doing something, right? All right, guys, do we understand? Do you want me to explain again, which I don't mind? Or should we go on to our test? Remember, a pronoun takes the place of a noun. Instead of saying the person's name, you can just say he, or if you're referring to a girl, you can say she. If you're referring to more than one person, you can say they, or you can say we, or you can say it, or you can use you. That is pronouns, right? We are not using the actual name. We're not saying Nadine. We're not saying Basil. We're not saying Gabby. We're not saying Prabha, right? All right. So now we're going on to our test, right? And yeah, we are going to say we our pronoun verb needs to agree, right? So we're going to complete the sentence with the best verb. Either we need to add an S or no S, right? Remember we said if one person does something, then we our verb ends with an S. If more than one person does something, then our verb does not end with an S, right? All right. So we say she. First to one lady, one girl. She. Do we say she frightened the little chipmunk? Or she frightens the little chipmunk? We need to choose the correct word. Do we say she frightened the little chipmunk? Or she frightens the little chipmunk? She refers to one person. She refers to one person doing an action. Remember, we said if one person does an action, our verb ends with an S. If more than one person does something, then our verbs do not end with an S. So here it says she is one person. Do we say she frightened the little chipmunk? Or do we say she frightens the little chipmunk? Option one or option two? So you need to say which one is correct. All right, then if we were to choose the correct word, right, or the base verb, I'm gonna choose what you guys chose, right? I'm gonna choose what you guys chose. So it says she frightened the little chipmunk. I'm gonna choose what you chose, right? And that is incorrect. The reason why I chose what you chose was because remember I said if one person does an action, one person is singular that does an action, then our verb ends with an S, like frightens, dances, sings, laughs, runs, walks, because it's one person doing something. If more than one person does something, right? If we, they, or you does something, then our verb don't end with an S. Then we can say frighten, laugh, dance, sing, walk without the S. So option 2 is our answer, right? But well done for trying. All right, we need to choose the correct or the best pronoun. Remember, we said a pronoun is either he, she, they, we, or you, right? Remember, we said if one person does something, then our verb ends with an S. If more than one person does something, then our verb does not end with an S. So look at this one. This is the pronouns, like the person. Do we say he hide, or do we say we hide the ball? If one person does something, hide is our verb. If one person does something, our verb ends with an S. If more than one person does something, our verb does not end with an S. Which one is correct? All right, guys, I cannot see. I just see blank that you are sending. Now, why does mine show blank from the side? Let me just go out again. It shows blank, but okay. All right, so if we were to choose the correct one, then we will say we, more than one, we hide the ball. More than one person hide the ball. One person hides the ball, right? Which means that our subject is we. Let's go to the next one. It refers to one thing. It, one thing. Do we say it looks like grandpa? Or do we say it look like grandpa? It looks like grandpa or it look like grandpa? Do we say it looks like grandpa or it look like grandpa? Which one is correct? Yes. So if we were to choose the correct one, we will say it looks, which is option one, like grandpa, because we refer to it as in one person or thing, right? So well done. Do we say he clean the house or they clean the house? He clean the house or do we say they clean the house? And if we were to choose the correct one, we will say they clean the house. Clean is a verb and it does not end with an S. We, it refers to more than one person. Do we say we grins at grandma or do we say we grin at grandma? We grins at grandma or we grin at grandma. We refers to more than one person. This is the last one. We grins at grandma or we grin at grandma. And if we were to choose the correct one, we will say we refers to more than one person, which is a plural subject or subject pronoun. Then we say we grin at grandma. All right. So this is now the end of our lesson subject verb agreement. And we did pronoun verb agreement. And we said a pronoun takes the place of a noun, right? It takes the place of a noun. So instead of saying Nadine, Bifang, Basil, whoever that's doing something, we use pronouns like he, she, it, we, they, you, or even I, right? And we need to know the difference between it being singular or it being plural. If the pronoun is singular and it refers to it, he, she, and then our verb ends with an S, right? Or if our pronoun is plural, which means that it refers to more than one person or thing, and our pronoun is words like they, we, or you, then our verb do not end with an S. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, Great Tools, for joining the class. And I really hope that you're going to have a good evening further. Goodbye.